Welcome to Girls Across the Pond, Spooktober episode 3. Ooh-wee-oo.
Episode 3. We are going to talk about the zombie apocalypse today. If you're into zombies, man, stick with us. We got so much stuff on zombies. I thought this was a farce, but it's not. So you want to grab a cup of coffee, cup of tea, whatever you want. You want to come with us on this episode. We got a lot, and stay tuned right till the end because we have something very fun planned for the end. So welcome to Girls Across the Pond. Welcome, darling.
Hello, welcome.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
You're all right. You surviving? No zombies over there?
No zombies over here.
Dude, I was
But
researching
you know what?
this.
I live outside a graveyard, so I will be the first one to know.
I always forget that.
Yeah.
How
I'm
is
looking
it?
at the graveyard right there.
How's it living outside a graveyard?
It's quite peaceful. I quite like it.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really quiet. Not a lot happens. And it rains a lot here, which I like. It's like moody vibes. The other day I thought I saw somebody who was grave robbing, but they weren't. They were doing maintenance. So, but I was like, grave robber? Question mark? No.
What does a grave robber do? Do they actually dig up a body?
Yeah, they like dig up the grave and they rob it, I think. I don't know. Um I've only seen grave robbings from Supernatural, the show.
Wow.
Anyways,
Creepy. Well, it kind of falls right in line with what we want to talk about today, which is the zombie apocalypse. And when we talked about doing this episode, I thought, I'm out. Zombies, whatever. That sounds very Hollywood cliche to me. But I found out it not only is a real thing, but I was thinking of zombies in a very different way. I was way off base. So if your first inclination is to hear the word zombie apocalypse and turn off, don't leave. In fact, stay and hit the subscribe button because we've got a lot for you on that. So you have some interesting insights. I want you to start on this with the zombies because it's fascinating. Go for it.
well, like zombies in media are portrayed as the undead coming back to life and feeding on people for like their brains or whatever. That whole like trope that gets represented in media. And then there's like a new one that's just been coming to fruition, and that's that zombies are people that have been infected by something and it's turning them into what we are considering zombies. And we were looking it up and we were talking about like just the whole like idea of like that plague infecting people and turning them into zombies down that route instead of the route of undead zombies. And like in my head, there's like a difference because between plague and zombie, because plague, like even just ones that we've experienced in history, are times when people are like bedridden. It's like this person is ill, they're bedridden because they've got X, whatever it is. But like the plague that, you hear about infecting zombies, that is whatever's going around in these scenarios that create zombies. It's like they've contracted X plague, but they're still like roaming around as zombies. And I mean, granted, that's part of the media, and that progresses the plot line of, oh, we have to get to X location to do whatever task it is, but we have to get through the zombies to do it. What are we gonna do? That whole like plot line progression. But there's been just like when we were researching it, it was like, oh, there's questions of whether we've already lived through zombie apocalypses. And in my head, apocalypse is like end of the world, everything's stopped, everything's broken, the world's in ruins, like all this.
Right.
And you know the zombies are out roaming. And so it's like, hang on, if the zombies aren't roaming, then like what are they really zombies?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of on the same plane with you on that. And I think when my first thought goes to zombie apocalypse. I think of one of these post-apocalyptic um, young adult books, like I don't know, Hunger Games, or what's the other one that I was confused with
Dystopian
that?
novels.
Yes, I
You're
can.
thinking of Divergent is the one you're thinking of.
That Divergent. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And I think of that world where everything is sort of blown up. Society as we know it isn't there. The world is very gray and demolished, and then supposedly there's these zombie creatures that Hollywood has created for us, sort of walking around. But I think that's kind of meshing two things together, which is one is that there's been some sort of a war that's destroyed civilization, downtown whatever city you live in is no longer there, and it's just remnants of buildings, and it's all horrible and gray, and plants are dead, and there's just like there's nothing there. And then you throw in these sort of undead creatures or zombie like creatures for lack of better words. I think we use that term zombie to kind of personify a couple of different things. But to me,
Well,
and I think, go ahead.
you can finish your thought.
Oh, I think what we're both thinking is that it's something that's affected your mind to such a degree that you no longer are a functioning person.
Yeah. Just to clarify for all the listeners out there, Hunger Games and Divergent are not zombie novels.
No, not
And
at
not
all.
saying you thought that, just like clarifying. Like in the dystopian category of novel, there's like
Mhm.
post up there's a lot of apocalyptic, like post apocalyptic fiction,
Mhm.
and a lot of that comes from, the world being in a war and that ending in ruins, and then you've got post-apocalyptic ruin where there's a functional society, and it's more, those ones are more like commentary on society and the way things are run, and I quite enjoy those ones because there's always some underlying morality commentary in those,
Mhm.
and I always think they're very interesting. But then there's zombie, like kind of post-apocalyptic, and that's like World War Z, that's like The Walking Dead. There's like a K-drama called Alive that's got like the same kind of thing, and it's like zombies, like that kind of thing, or like A Silent Place. That's like one that's kind of common. That's like alien zombies, like kind of thing, like alien post-apocalyptic. But like the world is in ruin because some creature or something, like it's not safe to be outside anymore, and something has gone wrong, kind of apocalyptic thing.
Right.
And then the remnants of remaking of society because humans have been bad to other humans, kind of post-apocalyptic, which is like Hunger Games,
Right.
Divergent, lots of those type of novels.
Yes, I think where I was going with that is there just this it's this merging of the world has disintegrated into nothingness, and now what? And there's no real morality to it. And I think that's what you're touching on. It just has all become it's become chaos, and that's where people are living. And so the zombies, because we don't we don't really know what they are, but for me, when I think of a zombie, I think of something that has affected your body to such a degree that you cannot function as a what we call normal human being. What the heck is normal anymore? But that's what I think of when I think of a
Mm,
zombie. Is that where you are on that?
yeah.
So if we're thinking of those kind of things, that in the past there have been different things that people considered to be a zombie apocalypse, and obviously people come up with this the Black Plague as the first one. That was back in the 14th century, and there was it's hard to know because the documentation of that time is bad, but somewhere between 75 million and 200 million. I know that's a big number, big gap, but that's the number of people who supposedly died during the Black Plague in the mid 1300s. And then, of course, there's the Spanish flu, which we all know happened just after World War One. And that one killed more people than who actually died during the war in the Spanish flu. And the scary thing about the Spanish flu, and we don't know this, maybe the Black Plague was the same way, is that it would attack your body. You would get the flu, and it would kill you within 48 to 72 hours. I mean, it was quick, it was fast, and you were gone. You were out of here, which is a frightening thing. It wasn't any sort of apocalypse, but I mean, apocalypse, just the end of the world. Is that what that word means? I don't even know. I didn't bother to look up the word apocalypse. To me, that's what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong on that? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, like end of the world. Yeah, I'd say that's like, I mean, like if everybody dies, then yeah.
So the
But
thought of a zombie apocalypse would be that we've all lost our minds. We can't function. We're eating ourselves from within, and it's the end of the world. That's the way
well,
it is.
yeah. Yeah.
The last one of the big one in history that we all know of is the time when AIDS hit, and a lot of people were feeling. I remember hearing the word zombie at that time because we didn't know what this was. Late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s, and it was a virus that was striking people. We weren't even sure how people were getting it in the beginning, and it felt like it was eating people up from inside. And they were people would just they would lose a ton of weight and they would look sullen, and it was just an awful thing. When it's now looking back on it, we know so much more, but at the time it was terrifying because people would get it and we think, how did they get this? And you didn't want to be around anybody, and we all became very, very homophobic. Don't touch anybody, don't breathe on anybody. It was a little bit like this COVID that was going around, because we don't know. In another probably 10 years, we'll look back at this time and go, oh yeah, we were either overreacting this way or we were underreacting because we just didn't know. But that period of time when things are happening, and you're seeing things on at that time at the news at night, because we didn't have the internet to tell us anything and people weren't tweeting things and sharing pictures. We just knew what the media was giving us, and it was terrifying when AIDS came out. We just did not know what was causing this and how people could live. And it was a death sentence. If you got AIDS, man, you were dying. Don't touch anybody, don't breathe on anybody, you're dying, you've got it, and we don't want it. And it was awful, awful time. I don't want to go through that again, for sure.
See, with like all of those, to me, that's plague. That's not zombie. Like anybody that had COVID in my mind is not a zombie. Like they were
True.
somebody who had COVID. They were infected with
Yes.
COVID. So
Yes.
they were bedridden, hopefully bedridden.
Yes.
I don't know. Hopefully bedridden and recovering from an illness, not, brains.
But when it first comes out, we don't know. And in the very beginning of COVID, I remember Dad and I watched a documentary, and this was probably February of 2020. We had heard that things were happening in the East, and we were sort of watching it come across the globe. And Dad and I watched something on the news, and it was a documentary on some warehouses in China that were being examined because they didn't know what all these warehouses were. And the media had gotten in there and they were filming them, and they were just filled with beds. It was the weirdest picture, and it was sort of creepy. There was 5 or 6 huge warehouses, and they were just literally lined up with beds. And then they showed people on the street. I don't know if this was scare tactics or I don't know what it was. And you can't find it anymore because it's been deleted from wherever. But people were just dropping in the streets, and they'd show military people carrying these bodies off to these. It was
See,
very
yeah,
odd.
once again, in my mind, that rings plague, not zombie. And, I could see plague being an apocalyptic thing, but not zombie. Like, well, zombie would be apocalyptic, but zombie does not equal plague. Other way around, same. Like, they're not the same thing. Like,
No, but plague could bring on zombie.
could bring on zombie, but
That's right.
plague does not necessarily mean zombie.
That's
Like,
correct. But we don't
in,
know
go on.
when it's starting. You don't know.
If you see a zombie, I would think I'd know that they were a zombie and be like, oh, zombie.
But we don't know the beginning. If you look at history, I love history. If you look at the beginning of things that happen in history, it seems very innocent. You just don't know. I mean, you could say
Yeah,
that
that's
about the
fair.
Holocaust. It seemed very innocent that what was happening, and then all
Yeah,
of a
it's not
sudden,
bad until it gets worse. And then you're like, oh,
exactly. So, is a plague when it starts? Is COVID all this kind of stuff? Is this the beginning of the zombie apocalypse? And one of the
right.
things I looked. Go ahead.
Well, you can ask, like, is this the start? of something that's gonna, go wrong. Like, is this
I
is
thought you
this
were
the
going to say you could
catalyst?
ask if they're a zombie.
No,
You
no,
could
no,
ask. I'm sorry. Are you
no.
a zombie?
You've got COVID, so does that mean like you're a zombie or okay? No, no.
Clarification,
I
please.
mean, I mean, I guess you could ask, but I think that's rather offensive. Um, but like, you can ask yourself like when something like this starts, like, is this the beginning of the end, kind of thing.
That's what
But
people ask all the time.
right,
Is
right.
this it?
But now that we've been doing this for a year, I think it's pretty safe to say this is not the zombie apocalypse. This is a plague, and there's one scene. So there's this book called Six of Crows, and it's a young adult fantasy, and it's taken place like in another universe. And I'm not spoiling it or anything. This is backstory that happens for the story, but it's kind of like a similar thing. There's an island that they live on, and the backstory for the main character was there's this like plague that swept across the island, and just like everybody was dying, and the main character loses somebody close to them. We'll just say that, so keeping it spoiler free. But they start to contract this virus, and there's this one scene where the main character is like just like late night, like in the middle of the night, just like stumbling up the road because they've just got like this like massive fever. They're not feeling well. They're starting to contract this illness, and they're just like kind of stumbling up the road, like just don't really know where to go, like because they're feeling ill, and the character didn't have like a place to go to get help. And in that case, like I was like, that kind of seems a little bit like the beginning of the end. There looks a little bit like like if I saw somebody stumbling up the road in the middle of the night, like when there's massive plague going around, I'd be like, oh my god, run.
Yeah. And what's that book called?
Oh, that's Six of Crows.
Six of Crows. Gotcha.
And the actual book doesn't have anything to do with the plague. That's like a backstory.
Okay.
It's after the plague, years after the plague.
That's a book I will not be reading.
Oh, it was a good book.
I have to say, this whole week when I was going through this and sort of educating myself on this, I found myself being very depressed. I felt like this was very much a place of negative, and I like to be in a place of positive. I like to be happy, and there was so much out there. I was amazed to find that the CDC has a page on it, which is all about preparing for the zombie apocalypse. And I thought, if the CDC is putting that out there. I did look on the World Health Organization, nothing. If you Google zombie, it comes up with nothing. So I thought, phew, that's good. I did go on gov.uk, and they did not have a zombie page, but they had quite a few articles about preparing for a zombie apocalypse. And I think they're all in line with a plague can create a zombie like.
Right.
Yes, exactly. If you Google zombie apocalypse, man, there's so much out there right now. And yes, a lot of it is the Hollywood kind of thing, and the undead version. But most of it these days is leaning toward the virus aspect. And I think they've got a captive audience with all of us because we've just come
that's
through.
also just a more modern approach to what a zombie is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's reported. There's medical journals that are reporting, this person is technically a zombie because they've lost, all sorts of bodily functions and being able to think like a person would think. I always hate to say a normal person because I don't know what a normal person is, but you know what I mean. Try to be politically correct on that, and I can't. There's been a lot of websites looking up zombie stuff that go back to Nostradamus, which is, I think, very interesting. I don't really follow Nostradamus. Do you?
No.
He he was a 15th century astrologer. There you go with astrology. A lot of people follow him, but they
go on.
they
What
don't.
was his his astrological sign?
Oh, I don't know. I should have looked that up. I don't know what he. I don't know what he
I'm
was.
calling it now. This man must be a Virgo or a Libra.
Oh, see, I thought it was fire sign.
Oh, well.
I don't know. Maybe he was an air sign. Anyways, there's been a lot of things that he predicted COVID, which has been disproven. He did not predict COVID.
Oh, you were right. He was a Sagittarius.
There you go. My stuff. There's been a lot of stuff that he's predicted COVID. He did not. There's a false claim out there that says something about a twin year, which would be 2020, and that the great cities are going to fall. Something about a plague or whatever. I don't remember what it was, but that claim actually was not true. What Nostradamus wrote in something, he wrote in like poetry stanzas. There's a word for it. I can't remember what it was. So he had a very distinctive style of writing, and it was so ambiguous. I just, when I read Nostradamus, I think, well, that could be anything. And
Mm-hmm.
if you plug it in the back way, you can. But there's a lot of people who have read into some of his readings and or writings and come up with the year 2021 as being the end of the world. Of course, the Mayans were supposed to end the world in 2012, was it? That
Said
didn't
the world
happen.
was going to end, not them ending the
Yeah.
world. They didn't
Well,
say they were
yeah.
going to eliminate the world.
No, they were gonna the prediction of the end of the world. And then there was the Y2K. Do you know anything about Y2K?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God, that was a big thing. It stood for year 2000. So at the year 2000, what was going to happen with all the computers? Because they were all programmed for years of 1900, 1990, whatever. And when it rolled over at the millennium to the year 2000, we weren't sure if all the computers in the world were going to go haywire and cause a meltdown,
Mm.
and that society as we knew it wouldn't be able to function because all the
Technology.
computers. Yeah. And then at 2 minutes after midnight, we all went, oh, guess we're okay. And we moved right on. But people were building fallout shelters for nuclear war and everything. Yeah,
Hmm.
that kind of came and went. Y2K, look it up. It's kind of fun. But I found myself being very, very depressed this week learning about the zombie apocalypse because there's, I even mentioned this to Simon. I said, if something came up with war, you're kind of in the age where they would take you and you'd be drafted into fighting, which is a noble cause, but it's terrifying for a parent to know you're getting in. Simon said to me, he goes, Mom, I'm not afraid of this war. I'm afraid of the next war. This war, I wouldn't be drafted. This next war would be some kind of a either a zombie kind of thing, a virus kind of war, or some kind of a technological meltdown. The next war is one where we're going to go fight with bayonets because it's just going to then the next one will probably take us down. And I thought that was an interesting point of view from a 20-year-old kid, but he's probably not wrong. He's probably not wrong. If a lot of people, a lot of conspiracy theorists think that COVID was a man-made virus. Maybe they were just testing it and it got out of control. Who knows? But if it was, well, my goodness,
Mm-hmm.
who's going to create the next one? And how are they going to infect us all? And look at how rapidly the world shut down from January until the middle of March when we all went into seclusion. That was fast. 10 weeks, boom, shut the world down. So if we all get this next virus, whatever it is, or the next phase of COVID, or the variants keep mutating and we just can't keep up with it, are we all going to become zombies? How do
Well,
you feel
that's the
about
same
that?
thing. In my head, they aren't zombies. In my head, COVID is COVID, and that does not mean zombie. I had COVID. I am not a zombie.
But
End of
but
statement. Plus,
that's
now we're at a point where like people are getting
but
COVID, and 2 weeks later they've kicked it, and that's not everybody, and it's still a very very scary thing. But there are people who have gotten this, have been bedridden like an illness, and then they get up, and they're fine. That's not zombie.
that is true. What if this was a test run?
Then I have lost all faith in humanity.
There you go. That's how I felt all week when I was researching this. I'm like, oh my God, it is coming.
I'm
And
I'm very cynical as it is, so that just I feel like I'm already at very low standards with people that like I really just really expect all of humanity just to not be there. So I'm honestly, if that happened, I wouldn't even be surprised. I'd just be like, you know what? Okay.
So after the zombie apocalypse, you're just going to be cynical and I'll be a ghost because I'm coming back as a ghost.
Yeah. To haunt the people that started it.
Yeah, I don't want to be here. Part of the thing that I was researching is there's so many companies out there sort of, making hay while the sun shines. Is that what the term is? Selling all these not fallout shelters, man. That was the thing of the Kennedy administration. We all had fallout shelters because of Khrushchev and we were going to be nuked or whatever. But it's so funny to go through history and go, yeah, we were all worried about this and that didn't happen. So hopefully the zombie apocalypse is the same. But there are people out there right now selling zombie apocalypse shelters that you can put in the ground, dig a hole in your backyard, 10 feet down, stick your little shelter in there and fill it up with cans of food and some warm blankets and just live for X amount of years and then come out when I don't know, when what happens? How do you know when to come out of that thing? I don't want to be here. I'm off. I don't know. The zombie apocalypse, guys, it's coming. Are you prepared?
I don't know. I like to think I'd be prepared, but I likely wouldn't be. There's only so much you can do to be prepared, and it's more like at that time you need to be adaptable. I think that's the better way to put it, and I think I could be adaptable.
You think
Am
you
I
can be
prepared?
adaptable?
Maybe not. Could
Well,
I
are you?
adapt? Maybe.
You are pretty adaptable. I'm not. I don't want to say stuck in my ways, but I'm kind of like, well, this is what we have, so let's go with it.
This is the way it is.
This is the
And
way
it's
it
always been
is.
like this, and this is always the way it will be.
I'm up for change. But I kind of do want to keep going down my path.
Yeah. And it's time for ding 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 Jones cognitive function brings in that is your SI dominant trait.
There it is.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, so I'm gonna you transitioned so nicely on that for me. I one of the things I thought was amazing is I went on to Amazon.com and I looked up zombies to see what they had because I was thinking more in terms of costumes and things like that, but they actually had a kit and it's a zombie apocalypse preparedness kit. And you can buy these. And I thought, well, what are they talking about? And I looked it up and then I Googled that and I found loads of companies that were selling these bad boys so that you could be prepared. You and all of your friends can be prepared for the zombies that may be coming your way. I would think you'd want to prepare yourself not to become a zombie, not necessarily to fight off zombies.
Well, if you fight them, they can't give it to you.
I guess that's a very good point. I'm so out on this. I don't even think about how do I fight them. I just think, okay, give me a white flag.
That's Ellen's preparedness kit. It's just a white flag that says "Take me."
I'm done, man. I'm out.
That'll be the very first Girls Across the Pond merch. Just like a little white flag that says "Take me." And you can just wave it at the zombie apocalypse. You can just like stick it outside your window so that people know that if the zombie apocalypse strikes, that is a safe place for the zombies to go and harvest. I'm starting it. I'm starting the enterprise.
Oh my God, I'm gonna get one of those. Oh, that's so funny. Hello, white flag. There it is.
It's actually just a whole bunch of Kleenexes, and we're just like conning people out of their money because we're just selling Kleenexes.
Oh my goodness, that is hilarious. Yeah. Stay tuned for the Girls Across the Pond merch.
The very first merch reveal. It's just one line, and it's all just white flags. In just like different shapes, customizable shaped white flags. And you can get them of different sizes, different variation, maybe like a different font that just says "Take me."
Oh my God. I can't recover from that. That is so funny. All right. Guess what I'm wearing next week? All right. right. Thank you for getting me off track. Okay. I want to see how prepared you think you would be in the case of a zombie apocalypse. Oh my God. Oh. All right. These are 12 things you should have. By the way, I've combined the Amazon list with a couple other websites of things that you should have to be prepared for a zombie apocalypse. I want to see how prepared you are. I'm here to tell you I got two. That's why I'm out. Two out of 12. Okay. The first one is you need a solid tactical knife and tools.
I have
You have
kitchen
this.
knives. I have
Oh, yeah.
kitchen knives, and we have like a toolbox. Yes.
There you go.
Already at 2. We're already tied.
You're already, no, that's one. That's
okay.
number one. Okay. You have enough water, a gallon per day to last you for 14 years.
No. Who has that? I have a running tap.
Okay.
And
So you're out on the water.
Right now that works. So who knows?
Yep.
Maybe I could stock up really quickly.
I was out. I was out.
14 years, a gallon a day. Where on earth are you going to store that?
I don't know, but you need to store up. There's people who have this.
Years? Why 14 years?
They estimate that's from, I've looked at a couple websites. Some say 2 and some say like 50 or whatever, big years. So I estimated 14. I thought that was probably a pretty good number of like how long you want to be in your shelter. Let's say 10 years. Do you have enough for 10 years? Does that help?
No, I don't even have enough to last me through the week.
I know. I don't have enough.
I don't even have enough for one day. Yeah.
I'm out. Okay. A first aid kit.
Yes. Check.
You got one. That's one.
Now
I
we're
had
tied.
first. Okay. A tactical watch, which would have a compass on it.
I had an Apple Watch, but it broke.
I got an Apple Watch, but it only has 2-day battery, so I'm good till Thursday.
Okay.
Then I'm out.
So for 2 days, you have 3 things, and then
yeah, I didn't count that one because I thought, well, I need the charger. Yeah, a good pair of Gore-Tex boots.
I have my Doc Martens.
Yeah, that's leather. Is that Gore-Tex? That's not Gore-Tex.
I don't know what Gore-Tex is, but those boots were made for like the original history. Jones, fun facts of the Doc Marten shoe was that they were originally made for miners, like coal miners. So they're like durable. They're durable shoes, and then they just became a fashion trend.
Gore-Tex is like one of the most hardy weather resistant fabrics that you can get.
Okay, we're gonna count my Docs because that's pretty dang close.
There you go.
So 3.
Okay, binoculars.
No.
I have some, but they're in Colorado, so I didn't count that.
Have to go all the way back across the country.
Yeah. Food, but just like water, it has to be stored, readily available, and be able to last.
I've got some because of the quarantines I've been in. We've got lots of canned foods.
Do you have 10 years worth?
No, because that's what we call paranoid. But I do have enough to probably last me a good 2 or 3 weeks.
I know. Can you imagine eating canned food for years upon years? Not to be all 21st century about that, but
ugh,
what are we having today? Beans again. A flashlight. Oh, I guess I have this, but I counted the one on my phone, which of course my phone would die of battery. I don't have.
I have one on my phone, but we have an actual flashlight.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an actual flashlight. I always use my phone, which of course would run out of battery, just like my watch. A good backpack. I don't have one.
I do.
You do?
I do. My school backpack. I've been using that backpack since sophomore year of high school. And before that, it was Simon's backpack for 2 years. And now I'm a sophomore in college, and it's still completely fine.
That's a Swiss gear, isn't it?
Yeah, very durable. When in doubt, for the zombie apocalypse, choose Swiss gear. This was not sponsored.
Yeah, I don't have a backpack.
If you want to sponsor our apocalypse kit.
A warm sleeping bag.
I've got, does my duvet count? Because that's pretty dang warm, and I could sleep in my duvet. And I've got blankets.
Oh, well.
I could make a sleeping bag. I'm pretty confident in that I would be able to sew together some blankets with my duvet and make like a makeshift sleeping bag. I'd be pretty proud of that. yeah, I'd be like, yeah, this is it.
Okay, I counted no on the sleeping bag, but if you're gonna say a duvet, I guess I could do that.
I could,
Or
yeah,
a
you could like
comforter.
make, you could make a sleeping bag.
See, it doesn't get very cold here in Florida. We're heading into it's mid-October and it's still like in the 90s. Fabulous here. But it's getting cold up where you are, doesn't it? How cold does it
Yeah.
get there?
I don't pay attention. Let's see. Wait, let me like actually look at the weather app. Oh, how long it's been since I've opened this app.
That's okay.
Today it is 11 degrees Celsius. So right now it's 52.
50, yeah.
The low is 37.
Yeah, and it's only October, so it's getting cold.
Yeah, it gets really dang cold. Yeah, it gets very cold. Very
A
wet cold.
A wet
Yeah.
cold, yeah. A firearm and a holster.
No.
And the weapon, it actually keeps going here. The weapon, it should be big enough, whatever you have, a weapon should be big enough to bludgeon
Oh, uh-huh.
somebody.
Um,
Again, I'm out.
I think I could
Take
you
me.
could makeshift things that could be bludgeoning. Um See, the reason I know this is because I play D&D, and there's a lot of like combat things when you're in D&D, and you're like, "Oh, why don't I just take this and use it to hit somebody like in combat?" And then you have to like figure out what its bludgeoning damage would be. Anyway, so I think you could makeshift things to be bludgeoning. Like I've got a
Are you my
guitar,
child?
and that would work.
Okay. And the last thing is sanitation soap and towels.
Yes.
Enough for 14 years. Do you have enough soap?
Who has enough things for I don't even have enough clothes for 14 years.
Then you're not going to survive the zombie apocalypse, which again is why I'm out.
Okay. I think keeping something to last for 14 years is paranoid. That's what I think that is. 14 no. That's
Do you know how
dumb.
many people actually have stuff like that in their
Yeah,
homes?
and to them, no offense if you're listening and you are one of these people, but I would say you're paranoid. I would say you're paranoid.
Or prepared.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a bunch of Boy Scouts out there being prepared. What's wrong with that? More
For
power to them.
14 years? I don't know. It just seems like a waste of space. Not like a waste of space, but like not an efficient usage of that space.
When the zombies come, they'll be
I know.
laughing.
Yeah, when the zombies come, they're just going to be like laughing in their shelter of preparedness.
See, they'll be laughing at you, but they won't be laughing at me. They'll be going, "Oh, poor Ellen, she died, but I gave up. I'm out."
But like in a lot of these, like, I mean, maybe it's just because I just know the like fictional tropes of stuff. A lot of people aren't prepared and then they make themselves prepared. It's like, I don't have this stuff now. And if the zombie apocalypse hit right this very second, yeah, I probably wouldn't be the best and most prepared that I could be, but I could figure out a way to be prepared.
Yeah. I think humans, as long as you can still think for yourself, would be very resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not me. So the zombie apocalypse. Apparently, it's a real thing. Apparently, it's coming. It's the virus thing. I kind of am on the board with the thought that COVID was probably a test run. That kind of makes me say that I think it was manufactured. I don't. I think it was just a virus, but I think there's so many people out there in the world who might think, okay, this is how we can do it, that it might just be a test run and it may be coming.
Yeah, there was this one game online. It was like a mobile game called Plague Inc. And if you're like under the age of like 22, you've probably heard it and or maybe played it. I used to have it on my phone and I was really good at it too. And it's basically you play as a virus and your goal as the virus is to infect the entire world. That's like the goal of the game.
You see what I'm
And
saying?
you can like mutate and like develop new symptoms as a virus or whatever. The fun part was that you got to name the disease, and so like everybody would be like, name the disease your mom, and then it would like give you an alert and it would be like, your mom has infected all of Africa or like whatever it is. And so it was just like a funny message because it was like your mom, like as a joke. Why did you gasp like that was so like bad? Have you never heard a your mom joke?
I have, yes, because you've told me a bazillion of them. I just think that moms get the bad rap. We do
Oh
so
my
much.
God, you snowflake. That is such that's literally like the most like I'm not insulting you when I go, "Oh, your mom." Like
No, you're not.
obviously that's a
I know you're
joke.
not. But you just named a plague after me.
No, I didn't. I said your mom, not my mom.
I'm totally giving you a bad time. I like to watch you get all riled up. Woohoo!
I do things to elicit an emotional reaction out of others. I say that to my flatmate every time she does something to intentionally make me upset. I'm like, I do things to elicit a reaction out of others.
I bet when you tuned in for Zombie Apocalypse, you didn't think you'd get this.
Yeah. You know what? The apocalypse is going to be caused by me just finally reaching my breaking point.
She's twitching. How did this not be a spooky episode? It turned out to be a funny one.
Funny and spooky can, in fact, go hand in hand.
I will say, I did spend, I'm not even kidding, I spent the majority of this week just in a really sad headspace because I just felt so like I can't compete. I got nothing.
Just go watch a
It's
musical.
coming. I know. Watch Gene Kelly or something.
On my positive note, at the beginning of Spooktober, I said that I was going to start reading the Dexter book. And I loved it so much that I finished it super quickly and bought the second one.
Oh, look at you.
And so now I'm on the second book. It was very good. Loved it. Serial killer who kills serial killers.
Yeah. Are you watching the show?
I'm not watching the show. Haven't decided if I'm going to watch the show. The show's very popular. And I think probably actually a little bit more popular than the books. But I don't think the show follows the books a lot. Like I think it starts to and then goes off from the books.
Yeah.
And I quite like the books. So we'll see.
There you have it. What is our next and final episode of Spooktober? Horror movies?
I think we're talking about like psychological horror.
Oh,
that's the good kind of horror. That's the real horror that I like. I've been chilling this whole time, just like casually talking, but like psychological horror gets me so pumped. Like I love psychological horror.
Next week, Ellen's gonna say nothing. I will just sit here and go.
But you can't do that because you got upset with me for doing that in the ghost episode. Because I sat there like that while you did that, and you were like, "You're not reacting enough."
I'll react for you, but I got nothing. I don't want any part of psychological horror. Oh my God. I think it's a great episode though. I think it's a great episode. Yeah, no, I'm actually interested in hearing about it, but I'm not going to research a thing for that. Oh, what a horrible place to put myself in.
Why?
Oh, I don't.
What do you want me to do for psychological horror? Am I just telling you about it?
I don't know. Introduce it.
Okay. An introduction to psychological horror.
Bring stuff to the table that will be little carrots for me to go in.
Yeah. You know what? I will tease a whole bunch of series and things. That's what next episode will be of psychological horror. So that if we get other people, listeners who are interested in delving farther into psychological horror, I will give them the springboards of places to go check out that are psychological horror things.
There you go.
That's what's next episode.
Sounds good. I don't know that I can play on that one because it's kind of way outside my comfort zone.
That's like my favorite thing. You know, I was listening to a podcast called Serial Killers, and I mentioned it in our serial killer episode. That's a podcast I quite like to listen to. And I was listening to it at my college. I was leaving class and I put in my headphones and I was starting to play the podcast. And it was right at like one part where they were talking about what the serial killer was doing. So they were mentioning like a lot of like really bad things that the serial killer was doing. And right as they get to that part, my AirPods died and my phone managed to play it all the way out loud at full volume. And I was like, and, I gotta say, I did in fact get some weird looks because it was saying some like really, really dark stuff. And I was like, I promise there was context to that sentence that it did not come across because that started playing halfway through, please. I was just listening to a podcast. It's fine. Everything's fine, you guys. It's fine. And it was very embarrassing.
Nice. Nothing like being outed by yourself.
By my AirPods.
By your AirPods. Sorry.
Anyways.
All right. So that's all we have on zombie apocalypse. Stay safe, everyone. The viruses are out there.
Let us know if you've collected 14 years worth of gear. And let us know, please, if anything, just give us feedback on if you too want the take me flags. Just like, we'll make it into merch. And we'll mass distribute them to people, whether they want it or not. We'll just leave a flag at the door and it'll just say, use this for the zombie apocalypse if you so choose not to participate. And then you can just wave it out your window and the zombies will just come.
They'll just eat you.
Yeah. All right. Have a good week.
On that happy note, we'll see you later, guys.
Bye.